welcome back to Grow Roots. This is Shannon, and today I'm going to talk about my dreams and aspirations for the garden for 2024. I know that sounds a little bit silly, but those of you who are gardening and like to plan your gardens each year, I think you know what I'm talking about. Here in winter is the best time to dream about what plants you're wanting to plant. I have made a wish list, and I know it may change 100 times before the planting season begins, and we just kind of go with the flow. I always change my plans when I get to the garden centers and see the plants that they have, but these are the plants that are on my wish list and may or may not be in my budget. And these are my plans for my front garden and my back garden for 2024. Okay, so I have 4 different categories of plants that I have been thinking about, and that includes the annuals. So annuals that are going to go in my front garden as my garden border, annuals that are going to go in some of my containers that I have both in the front and in the backyard, and annuals that I want to plant throughout the landscape in my backyard, which you see behind me. So I'll talk about those, and then some perennials that are kind of on my radar. If I find them, I'll pick them up this year. The container combinations that I'm thinking about, which include mostly annuals, but there are certain combinations that I really want to incorporate. And then lastly, vines. So they're in their own category for me. I have a limited space. I have a home in a suburban area north of Dallas, Texas, and I have a very limited backyard space and a pretty limited front yard space, just your normal average family home. But one thing that I really want to kick up a notch this year are my vines, and so I will tell you what my plans are for those. Okay, so let's get started. So annuals. When I think of the annuals, the very first thing that I start dreaming about and thinking about, because I think they make the biggest impact, are the annuals that I'm going to plant in my front garden border. I always leave a space open for annuals in the front of my garden, and it's because I love it. I love that look of a low growing annual that's bright and colorful, and then the graduation of taller plants behind it that add also color and interest and texture and all of that. But the biggest impact is the color for me. I'm a color person, and I believe that annuals are the best way to do that. So in previous years, I have done vinca as a garden border, and here in North Texas, if you have grown vinca in full sun, you know that it is a rock star, heat tolerant, amazing plant, and it worked really well as a garden border for me. So I know that works, but I like to try new things every single year. So last year I tried zinnias, and I picked up Thumbelina zinnia seeds and grew them from seed. And the Thumbelina zinnias that were supposed to be 12 inches to 16 inches tall ended up growing 3 to 4 feet tall in my front garden border. So it was beautiful, and it was a pollinator magnet. Let me tell you, the bees and the butterflies, every time I stepped out my front door, it was like a dream world for me, because I love butterflies so much. But for 3 to 4 feet tall for a garden border is just too tall, in my opinion. And then you couldn't see the plants that were planted behind it either, and they also kind of flopped over into the grass in front of the garden border, and that wasn't good. So I'm definitely looking for something more low growing, so that you can see the larger plants planted behind it and the sunshine, the gushroom in the background. And so what I've decided that I really want to do this year is I want to plant a bright pink Supertunia Vista. So either Supertunia Vista Jazzberry, Supertunia, I think it's a Vista, Bermuda Beach, Supertunia Vista Fuchsia, or Super Tunia Vista Bubblegum, or Super Tunia Vista, what am I looking for? Paradise. So all of those are bright pink colors. If I find any of them at a decent price near me, I will pick them up. And then that in combination with Super Bina, it's called Imperial Blue. It used to be called Super Bina Cobalt. It is now called Super Bina Imperial Blue. And I first saw this combination on a YouTube channel. I believe it's called Gardening with the Williamses, and I can pop their link below if you'd like to check out the specific video that really inspired me to do this. But they mixed Super Tunia Jazzberry with Super Bina Imperial Blue, and they are in California, so they don't quite get as hot as we do here in Texas. However, it was just spectacular. The mixture of that like bright hot pink color with the purplish bluish, really bright purplish bluish color of the Super Tunia or Super Bina, and then also the textures of the flowers really complement each other. So the colors complement each other, the textures complement each other. I just really love that combination, and I want to try that in the front garden border this year. I do realize even Super Tunias will not quite make it throughout our entire summer because our summers get so hot, and it seems that they're hotter and hotter every single year. And so I realize they're gonna fizzle out probably in late July or early August. And my plan then is to proactively start growing zinnias, a dwarf zinnia this time. Thanks to one of you lovely people who commented. I apologize. I will pop your name on the screen because I believe you deserve that recognition. I don't recall it off memory right now, but one of you had commented on one of my garden tours and said the Dreamland series of zinnias from Park Seed is going to be a true dwarf variety and truly only get like 12 to 16 inches tall. And so I ordered those seeds, and I'm so excited to grow them this year. And so my plan is when those Super Tunias and Super Binas kind of fizzle out a little bit, I'm going to replace them with the Dreamland series zinnias. And I think planted later in this season, those zinnias too will have, you know, a few months of growing time, and they'll be really great to end that summer season. So in addition to that front garden border for annuals, I do have a lot of containers in the front that also will be having some annuals. I have a 3-tier planter that's like right off to the side of my steps that I absolutely love. And truly, I'll just wait until I start talking about my container combinations that I want to do. It's really, for those, I'm really not sure. I'm just going to go with whatever strikes me and whatever color combination or whatever is in the color combination that I want to be sticking with this year. But I definitely have plans for, there's 2 containers that are at the very front. They're planted in the grass, actually, along the street, along the sidewalk there. And that I really want to incorporate. They're going to be the same. Rock and Play in the Blue Salvia as the centerpiece plant. I've wanted to grow that plant for so long, and I love the combination of that with Super Tunia Bubblegum, so that's a possibility there. But we're kind of moving into the containers thing, but I wanted to point out on the Proven Winners website, if you haven't checked that out and you're looking for container garden inspiration, they have a completely separate menu for container garden inspiration, and hundreds of combinations of plants that they know works. They have been grown before, they are tried and true, and you can see what inspiration you like the most and what color combinations and things like that. And one of them that really strikes me that incorporates Rock and Play in the Blue Salvia is their Salvia mix, and I'll pop a picture on the screen, but it incorporates their Rock and Play in the Blue Salvia along with their Fuchsia Salvia, and then one of their dark purple salvias. I'm not recalling the name of it, but just the combination of the 3 different colors of salvia, the blue, the purple, and the pink. I think is beautiful and a beautiful statement. Another thing that I really like is this Rock and Play in the Blue Salvia as the centerpiece, along with Super Venus Stormburst, or I could go Imperial Blue there, but the Stormburst I think would be a little more complimentary. A Super Bells Yellow Chiffon, and they put Laguna Sky Blue Lobelia in there, and I would not do that plant because I do not think Lobelia does well here in Texas. It fizzles out in the heat really quickly, but I would probably pop in a hot pink color complementary to what I'm doing in the front garden. So like the Supertunia, Bermuda Beach, or maybe even Supertunia Persimmon, some type of pink color I would pop in there instead of the Lobelia. And then that kind of brings me to the container and the color combination that I want to keep up front. I love, because I have Sunshine Ligustrum, which incorporates a lot of yellows already. I'm going to be going with the grand, like really bright colors. So yellows and bright pinks and oranges and bright blues and bright purples. So there's a couple of combinations there on their website that incorporate all of those really bright colors that I absolutely love. And so when I go to the garden centers, I'm thinking of those colors, and I see annuals that I know are heat tolerant, that can, that will look good, then I'll pick them up. So we'll see what we end up with there, but that's going to be the front. I also have some porch containers that are in almost full shade, some morning sun, but mostly full shade. And so with that, if I find the Color Blaze Alvarado Coleus, I'm going to pick that up. I'm going to try that because it incorporates all of the colors in my color scheme, the yellows and reds and pinks and purples and all of that. So I would love to find that. But I also would love to find some caladiums that incorporate those colors as well. I love caladiums, and they grow really well in the shade, but like the Proven Winners Lemon Blush Caladium, which is a yellow color on the outside of the leaf and a pink color on the inside of the leaf, along with the chartreuse color of like anything like a sweet potato vine or a creeping Jenny or lemon balsedum, and that combination would be really, really pretty as well. And I still have English ivy growing in those containers as well, so I would keep that English ivy there because it has made it for sure through the winter. Backtracking a little bit back to the annuals, because I didn't really talk about the the backyard back here. I do want to plant some annuals back here, and that's going to include all of the zinnias. So I have California Giant zinnia seeds, I have my Thumbelina zinnia seeds, I have the Dreamland series this year, and then I also have, I'll pop a picture, I bought the Cinderella Peach, and I'm thinking about buying the Queenie Lime Orange, I think is what it's called, zinnia. So definitely planting some zinnias back here to grow along that fence and in other various areas. And I also want to plant a lot of cosmos this year. I love cosmos, and I've done orange cosmos in the past, but I want to incorporate some pink cosmos this year as well. And I do have red cosmos that I picked up that I'll plant in some location as well. And also I have, new garden beds that are shade and part shade on this side of my house that I started one portion of that 2 years ago, and then all the rest of it is almost brand new last year, those part shade locations. So I'm going to be adding some shade and part shade annuals back there, and the number one annual that I'm excited to get going back there is the Proven Winners Double Up Pink Begonia. I picked 2 of those plants up last year, and I planted them actually kind of right behind me in a container, like right by this pillar actually, right there. And so it was in full shade because it's under this awning, my back porch, and it was spectacular. These 2 plants that started this big grew all the way to this big and bloomed for me all season long. The foliage was on point all season long. No insects, no pests, no heat, like nothing. affected this plant at all. Not even when we started getting our first frost. In November, it got down to 23 degrees. It survived that, and it survived a few of the frosts in December as well. And so, goodness, as long as you're keeping, I know Double Up Pink says, it says shade to sun, but here in North Texas, because our sun is so brutally hot, you've got to plant it in the shade, I think. And as long as you do that, this plant is going to perform like crazy. So I actually saved some of this plant. I divided it up. Instead of letting it die in the frost, I did this in December, late December. I divided it up into 4 or 5 plants. And then I also took a few cuttings. So the 4 or 5 plants are actually planted in pots, and I'm growing them indoors right now. They're doing just fine. And then the cuttings that I had taken, one of them rooted out of maybe 4. So the cuttings I haven't been super successful rooting the cuttings, but as far as splitting the plant up and overwintering it in my home, I have had great success. So I will have 4 or 5 of them to plant into the landscape already. And then I've seen them always at Home Depot for, I think it was $6.99 last year. This year, I'll bet they're way more expensive. Everything seems to be way more expensive this year, but I should only need to pick up maybe a couple if I see them. Another shade annual that I really want to try this year if I see it is the Endless Illumination Broalia. It is shade tolerant and heat tolerant, and Jenny from Gardening with Creekside, thank you for the recommendation. That is where I fell in love with that in her shade garden, and I'd love to try that in mine as well. So if I see it, oh, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but the squirrels are back there. I don't know if you can see them, but I can definitely hear them. They're squeaking and squeaking, so they're playing behind me. Anyway, okay, another annual that I'm going to be for sure planting back here, and maybe in the front as well. It's just taller, so it'll go in the back. Gomphrena. Gomphrena is unbelievable. It was heat tolerant last year. It did fizzle out in late August, but just beautiful, beautiful flowers that make really great cut flowers as well as dried flowers. They keep their color. So I'm definitely planting Gomphrena again. And then really, let's see. Oh, I did pick up some seeds. These I grew last year. Chinese forget-me-nots. They are from Dollar Tree, 4 for $1 still. And these were unbelievable. This shade of blue is spectacular. And so I'm going to be growing this again. I'm going to be growing some herbs. I have a strawberry pot that I got for free, and I've decided to make that into an herb garden with all of the different, it has 12 holes in it. So I'm going to be growing dill and parsley and thyme, oregano, basil, and all those good things there. I also have these. I picked this up at Dollar Tree as well. I think this one was actually $1. But I'll be planting a lot of impatiens for my shade containers and my shade garden. That's pretty much it for annuals. And again, we'll see what happens when I go to the garden centers and see what they have available. But moving on to perennials. Okay, so as far as perennials goes, I'm running out of space. It's okay. I picked up a lot of perennials last fall when they were on clearance. So I picked up pink skullcap. I picked up Mystic Blue Spires Salvia, which is supposed to be perennial in our area. I picked up a carex, an Everest carex that is like a variegated foliage, unbelievable plant. I picked up, what else did I get on clearance? Oh, a lot of salvia, Salvia Greggi, hot trumpet salvia for the front. I got lemon ball sedum, a couple of those. So I've planted and I've divided some echinacea, purpurea, and those are all throughout the landscape back here. I also picked up some plumbago ceratostigma, which is a perennial plumbago ground cover with blue flowers that I have found to be extremely heat tolerant. Unbelievable plant. I picked up those. Oh, Burgundy Glow Ajuga as another perennial ground cover, and then also variegated Vinca Major as a ground cover, a perennial ground cover as well. So I added a lot to the garden last year. There are a few plants that are still on my radar. One of them is Brunnera. Brunnera historically doesn't do that well in the heat. However, Dallas Arboretum, they did plant trials, and the results of their plant trials from 2022 are available on their website. I can post a link in the description box for you to check it out because it's really cool. They tell you in our area, in the Dallas area, which plants did really well through the heat of 2022. That was a record-breaking year as well. And so Brunnera Queen of Hearts from Proven Winners was on their list of flame-proof. They called them flame-proof plants, heat-tolerant. So I want to plant that if I can find it in my shade garden. I also want to pick up a different type of canna lily to add to the landscape, and that is Canna Toucan Coral by Proven Winners. That again was on the Dallas Arboretum's flame-proof list from their plant trials. And then I have always had my eye on Cat's Pajama Nepeta. I just love the look of that plant. Still, I can't find it, so I may order it online this year, but I really want to add that to the landscape. And then I would really love to add some Monarda. I tried one Monarda plant in a container last year and it did not make it. It died from powdery mildew, and I think Monarda is known for that after some research, but I just love the pop of color, and I love the smell of Monarda. I would love to have that all throughout the landscape. So I'm going to try one more time, but this time I'm going to plant it in the ground and see if I can keep it alive. Another plant that I haven't quite given up yet, but I'm this close to giving up on it, and I feel like I'm the only one, Rudbeckia. I have tried growing Rudbeckia Goldsturm and Rudbeckia Indian, what is it called? Indian Summer, from seed 2 years in a row. They look spectacular. They grow. They're unbelievable. They mix with other plants so well. And then towards the end of the season, they die. They're supposed to be perennial, but mine die. And I think it's powdery mildew. It's like, you know, everything kind of turns whitish and dies pretty quickly. So I think that's what it is, but I'm going to give Rudbeckia one more chance. This time I'm going to try and pick up the Proven Winners variety of Rudbeckia, because if anything's going to survive, I think it's going to be one of theirs, because theirs, you know, are tested and trialed so much. So I'm going to try Rudbeckia Little Gold Star or Rudbeckia Mega Millions and see if I can have success with that, because I just love Rudbeckia. Okay, so last but not least, if you're still with me, thank you. But I really want to talk about vines now. I love vines so much, and I feel like they add so much color and interest and texture to the garden, especially when you have a small space like I do. So my vision for this year, I don't know if we'll get there, but I'd love to have this back fence kind of almost covered. Okay, sorry everybody. It is a new day. I have been editing this video, getting it ready to get out to you, and I realized that my last portion of my footage has been deleted. Isn't that fun? So I'm just going to, it's a new day. I just want to get this video out to you, and I wanted to finish it up for you. So all we have left to talk about is vines, and so excited about them. I already have some perennial vine varieties that I have been really trying. For a while now, I've been growing Confederate Star Jasmine, and I love it, except my experience with it here in North Texas is that no matter where it's planted, in our winters, typically the vine will die, and it'll have to start brand new from roots every season. And because it blooms in the spring, I'm not really getting the blooms that I should be expecting from the Confederate Star Jasmine. Yes, it will bloom, but I will get like 4 blooms per vine because it's starting fresh from new growth every year. So I took that out of where I was growing it in the trellises last year. I put them in other locations because I didn't want to throw them away. I just can't do that. I do love it, but I put Tangerine Beauty Crossvine in its place on my trellises in the backyard, and this will be its second season growing. I'm super excited for spring because I'm hoping the 4 trellises I have with the 4 vines will just completely explode with blooms this spring, and I'm super excited for that. I also have picked up a coral honeysuckle, which is also it's supposed to be an evergreen vine, and it's pretty small right now. I picked it up on clearance in the fall. It hasn't had a whole lot of time to grow, and let's see, that's about it that I have right now. Tangerine Beauty, coral honeysuckle, and Confederate Star Jasmine. This year, I'm really hoping to incorporate at least one mature clematis into my yard. I have a spot that I think is perfect for the clematis in my backyard where the roots will get shade, but the vine itself will get full sun. And I think I'm gonna start with a Jackmani clematis. They do really well here in North Texas from what I've heard, and so if I'm going to start with one, I'm going to do one that is tried and true in my area, and I want to pick up a mature one. I'm not going to start small because I really they're somewhat slow maturing, and I want to enjoy the benefits of a clematis pretty soon. So I'm going to do that. I may pick up a couple bare root clematis where I will have to wait several years to see them grow and to see the blooms and things like that. So clematis for sure I'm gonna do. I also picked up some annual vines because I do have some areas where I want vines to kind of explode, but then I don't want them to overtake the area either. And one of them is the hyacinth bean vine. Super excited about this. Full sun, it's going to be fantastic, and I have a spot picked out in my backyard with an archway that it will grow over, and it will have some purple flowers and purple beans, I'm hoping. But even if it doesn't, the foliage is amazing, and so really excited about that one. I also am going to be growing a black-eyed Susan vine with yellows and oranges and whites. These come in such a wide variety of colors. It was hard for me to choose, but I think this one is supposed to be really heat tolerant, which is why I picked it up. And I'm really excited about this one. Again, this one will be an annual vine. It will not survive our winter, but I do have a couple locations in mind for this one. And then lastly, I am going to be growing a morning glory. And I know some of you will cringe at this. I get that. Morning glories, I hear, can be very invasive. And once you plant them in the ground, you're picking them up everywhere. Some people even say that if you have it in a container, it seeds itself in the wind and you still have them growing in your garden. It's just a mixed opinion. I do believe that morning glories are absolutely beautiful. I love this blue one. I've had my eye on it for a couple years now. I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna do it in a container, that's for sure, for my first time actually growing it myself. But I think it's going to be okay. I actually have wild morning glory growing in, not in my yes. I have wild morning glory growing in the forest area behind my backyard, and it is beautiful. I get to enjoy it. It's still part of our view, and it's starting to creep into one of my backyard garden beds. And it's been doing this for 2 years. I've seen it, and it's very easy. If I don't want it there, I just pull it, and it stops. It's really not. I have a different, very invasive vine in my front yard that isn't flowering. I don't know really what it is, and it's incredibly invasive, and I'm constantly pulling it out of my shrubs and things like that. It's morning glory for me, or this wild morning glory anyway, has not been very invasive or very hard to take out at all. You just pull it and it's fine. So I'm gonna be growing that and super excited about that. So that's my garden plans for 2024, my wishes and my dreams, and not all of this is in my budget necessarily, but I do think I'm gonna be able to accomplish a majority of my goals that I told you about, and this is the perfect time of year. I know I'm actually a little bit late in posting this video. I have been planning and thinking about this all winter long, and we are now at late winter, but you know, I'm just super excited for spring to come. The garden is already coming alive. You will see, I will be posting a February garden tour for my front and backyard here maybe in the next 1 or 2 weeks. So stay tuned for that, but you will see that the garden is waking up. Here in North Texas, we have not had very many freezes. We've had maybe a little more than half of the average freezes that we normally have, and the last, I don't know, the last 3 weeks have just been very spring-like and beautiful, and our highs are in the upper 30s, low 40s. We haven't had a freeze for quite some time. So the garden is definitely thinking it's already spring and it's coming to life. It's making me so excited, but I know I have to hold off because we are 6 weeks away from our last frost date here. So you know, we have to wait, but I'm so excited for 2024. I can't wait to see what it brings in my garden and in yours. I hope that you are planning your garden as well. And please, if you have any questions about your garden and things like that, feel free to comment below. I'm happy to answer them. Also, please subscribe to my channel. I will be posting lots of videos and updates on my garden all throughout. I do monthly garden tours for my front and my backyard. So please subscribe so that you can get notified when those videos come out. I thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.